impossible. The notion that you could seize the levers of time's cyclical repeating patterns might sound like pure fantasy, yet there's a persistent rumor swirling among those who chase the edges of scientific discovery and spiritual philosophy. Time loops are not only real, but they can be harnessed. Imagine your life resetting at the end of each day, not in a metaphorical sense, but in a genuine cosmic replay. Each morning, you'd awake with memory intact, yet the world around you remains reset to the initial state. Some say it's a glitch, others a cosmic test. But what if you discovered a technique, part science, part mysticism, to intentionally hack this phenomenon and accelerate personal growth to superhuman levels? If you've ever had that eerie feeling of déjà vu, or you've sensed time acting strangely around you, you've just brushed the surface of this enigma. In this video, we're pulling back the curtain to explore how an actual time loop might be more than a movie plot. It's a labyrinth of endless possibility, a puzzle that could hold the key to supercharging your abilities and mastering life from every angle. And the most shocking part? It's not purely theoretical. Stay with me, because this is only the beginning. Some believe that each day quietly loops onto the next, but what if there's a hidden architecture behind those loops that we rarely question? Time, as most of us perceive it, flows in a linear line from past to future. Dig deeper, though, and you'll uncover theories from quantum physics, parallel universe hypotheses, and even esoteric traditions that suggest time doesn't have to be a straight path. It can coil into loops, swirl into spirals, or fold onto itself like origami. If that concept sends a shiver down your spine, it's because it challenges everything you thought you knew. There are accounts from ancient civilizations that hint at cyclical events, from the Mayan calendar's cosmic cycles to mythologies describing repeated world ages. Even modern science entertains the possibility of closed, time-like curves. Why do these ring so familiar across diverse cultures and eras? Could it be that hidden in our collective memory is the clue to breaking, or better yet, hijacking, these loops for extraordinary advantage? Stay alert, because this is no idle speculation. We're on the threshold of something that could painstakingly rewrite our understanding of reality and our place within it. Now let's disrupt the comfortable illusions we cling to. We typically set our alarms, sip our coffee, and abide by the standard rules of time as if it's unquestionable. But imagine for just a moment an alternate viewpoint. You get to the end of your day, only to discover you've returned to dawn with every memory intact, while the rest of the world resets. Would you change your actions? Could you refine your skills infinitely? Or would you remain trapped in the old patterns, repeating the same mistakes without end? This paradox cuts into the very concept of free will. If time can be reversed or looped, then do we truly possess agency, or is everything pre-scripted by the loop? The contradiction arises when you attempt to keep your newfound knowledge in a scenario that resets. Are we code in a cosmic simulation, returning to a previous save point after some cosmic glitch triggers a reload? This fracturing of normalcy isn't just philosophical musing. It's a direct challenge to the structure of existence, and it holds surprising implications for those daring enough to explore the next layer of secrets. These ideas can be deeply unsettling, triggering that pit in your stomach that emerges when the known rules dissolve. Reflect on the times you wished you could hit the reset button on a painful day, a broken relationship, or a pivotal life decision. Now, magnify that longing by the power of an actual loop. Imagine you sense heartbreak or failure, only to open your eyes the next morning and realize you still have the power to correct your course before it's too late. That wave of relief could be overwhelming, but so could the suffocating feeling that your life is somehow stuck in a loop you're powerless to escape. Memories of your worst mistakes become haunting echoes at the back of your mind, spurring you to do better, try harder. We all have regrets. We all yearn for second chances. The emotional resonance behind a potential time loop is not just about redoing events, but about learning, forging resilience, and confronting the vulnerabilities we bury deep. That vacuum of longing, the thirst for redemption, is precisely what can drive people to search relentlessly for a method to harness these cycles. The tension escalates when you realize that entire civilizations have toyed with these notions for centuries, albeit in coded messages or cryptic metaphors. Ancient Egyptian inscriptions hint at the cyclical renewal of existence, the phoenix myth capturing rebirth after destruction. Certain monks in Eastern traditions speak of samsara, the endless cycle of death and rebirth. Over in modern physics, there's talk of wormholes, black holes, and quantum anomalies that upset our neat timeline. But the real jolt comes from the notion that if a loop indeed exists, it might be triggered deliberately. Suppose you devote every single loop to mastering a skill, archery, painting, coding, or even the perfect pivot in your social interactions. Each repetition becomes a stepping stone. In one iteration, you fail drastically. The next loop, you adapt. By the 1,000th iteration, you'd appear superhuman to anyone standing outside the cycle, all because you had the advantage of uncountable practice sessions. The question is how you'd even become conscious of the loop in the first place. And if you do, what's to stop you from rewriting every facet of who you are forever? In a universe brimming with possibilities, some scientists point to the principle of quantum superposition, where particles essentially exist in multiple states until observed, as a clue that time itself may not be the linear certainty we assume. While mainstream physics hasn't confirmed actual, observable time loops, it doesn't rule out closed time-like curves, situations where space-time bends back on itself. The overarching question remains, if such phenomena are possible, can they be manipulated consciously? Do certain states of mind, certain rituals, or certain alignments of cosmic forces produce these anomalies? Throughout history, mystics, shamans, and even some inventors claim they had glimpses into alternate realities or repeating sequences, though skepticism has mostly swept those claims aside. Yet the hints persist, luring us deeper into the puzzle. We're closing in on the methods and mindsets that might unlock the ability to notice, trigger, or hijack a time loop. But don't be too quick to assume you'll find a perfect solution. The next layers will challenge your perceptions of cause and effect, and the resolution might come from a place you least expect. Time loops are not a monolith. They unfold in subtle variations that often go unnoticed. Some loops allegedly reset everything to a fixed point, a literal do-over scenario. Others create branching timelines where the primary universe moves on, but your consciousness toggles to a parallel copy. Then there are loops of memory. The external day marches on while only your recollection cycles, allowing you to skip ahead in learning. Each definition carries distinct implications for how you'd harness repetition. The classic Groundhog Day loop resets events for everyone, letting you retake the same day until you achieve mastery or until fate releases you. A branching loop grants you the freedom to explore multiple paths, perhaps turning you into an expert across parallel realities. The memory loop is even more subtle. You maintain knowledge from an advanced point in time, effectively transporting your skill set backward. No single explanation dominates. In folklore, each type is teased out differently, weaving a tapestry of cyclical illusions. By recognizing these potential flavors of looping time, you can begin to conceive how to mold them into an extraordinary advantage. So how do these loops entangle your daily life? Even if you're not literally waking up to the same alarm every day as if nothing happened before. Think about your repetitive habits, the same morning routines, the same type of arguments, the same unspoken anxieties. These, in their own way, are loops, feedback cycles you consistently step into. Each time you unconsciously reenact them, you reinforce their power. The phenomenon of repeating life patterns, financial struggles, relationship rifts, or persistent self-doubt can be viewed as a microcosm of a larger cosmic loop. You might even be living the same days in spirit, if not in literal time resets. To hack these loops, the first step is to notice them. Which decisions, made repeatedly, trap you in a cycle? What beliefs or emotional triggers keep you spinning in place? By bringing these loops into awareness, you disrupt their hold. This is the pattern interrupt we seldom talk about. The cracks in your day-to-day reality are the openings where you slip in and start rewriting the script. Imagine harnessing repetition not as drudgery, but as your secret weapon. In a literal time loop, you'd wake up with all the knowledge from previous attempts, effectively compressing years of training into repeated days. But you don't need an actual cosmic anomaly to apply that concept. By deliberately recreating similar conditions, practicing guitar for the same 30 minutes every day, running the same track, or working through the same set of problem-solving drills, you're in effect forging a mini loop to refine your skills. Repetition is the bedrock of mastery. Over time, the once boring routine transforms into a gateway to exponential improvement. When you merge mindful awareness with structured practice, you mimic the advantage a real-time loop might offer: the capacity to accumulate learning with minimal external change. Each iteration, you spot errors faster, you adapt, you grow. Onlookers might call it obsessive. But once you feel that surge of improvement, when your fingers glide over guitar strings flawlessly or your mind solves equations almost instantaneously, you're tapping into the essence of cyclical mastery. No cosmic reset needed. There's a deeper layer to round out this conversation. Your decisions, every small choice, create ripples across your personal timeline. When you gravitate toward the same default reactions, you perpetuate your current loop, forging neural pathways that entrench your routine. Yet, if you interject a different choice, something as simple as changing your morning ritual, you start rewriting the code of your life. Conscious intervention is your tool for reprogramming the feedback loop. Sure, it's not as flashy as a literal time reset, but the mental shift is profound. In every moment, you recognize the old cycle creeping in, like stress eating when work gets tough, or snapping at loved ones when triggered. You have the power to pivot. This subtle pivot breaks the pattern. Over repeated attempts, you carve out a new path, effectively hacking the loop from within. As that new path solidifies, your reality shifts in incremental yet profound ways. Suddenly, entire realms of possibility open up. You're no longer prisoner to autopilot behaviors. You stand at the helm, rewriting the script with each conscious breath. Before we plunge into the final breakthrough, let's reflect on what a real-time loop thriller would offer. If you manage to remember every failure and success from each loop, you could become anything. Multilinguist, martial arts master, top-tier programmer. The lines between ordinary human and an almost divine being blur in the face of repeated practice. But the hidden gem here is that you can simulate that loop-like effectiveness simply by controlling your environment and your choices. Set up daily routines that mirror the conditions you want mastery over. Track your progress meticulously, like a scientist analyzing data. Treat each day as a mini reset, reevaluating yesterday's performance and refining it. With enough discipline, the difference between you and someone who actually lived 1,000 repeated days becomes negligible. There's still the question of cosmic significance, whether there's a bigger universal plan at play, or if these loops hold spiritual meaning. But for now, imagine that you've glimpsed a blueprint for self-transformation that operates within regular physics. Where might it lead if you fully commit, day in and day out? Now, it's time to decide if you're content watching your days blur into each other, or if you're prepared to seize control. Different definitions of a time loop underscore that repetition can be a cage or a gift. In the classic reset loop, everything reverts, giving you multiple attempts to refine your approach. In branching loops, you see how each decision spawns a new trajectory. In memory loops, only your mind travels backward, letting you carry the seeds of mastery across timelines. But even in an ordinary life bound by linear time, you can orchestrate mini-loops to perfect your craft. Each day, replicate the conditions that force you to practice, to experiment, to analyze. Notice which choices keep you stuck in toxic cycles, and rewrite them. Recognize the invisible routines that perpetuate your limitations, and dismantle them. By doing so, you effectively hack your personal timeline, forging a loop that upgrades you piece by piece. If just imagining this shakes your worldview, then you're already on the path to transformation. What if the real secret to becoming superhuman isn't about warping cosmic laws, but about harnessing repetition with unwavering intentionality? Share your wildest theories below. How would you use a loop to push past your limits? Let's spark a ripple of conversations that might just awaken untapped abilities within us all. If you want more deep dives into hidden dimensions and radical self-mastery, subscribe and join us. Because sometimes the key to quantum leaps and growth is found in the loops we live.